Hi and welcome to my newest video about the science behind DevOps. In this video we are going to look at what exactly the DORA metrics are, and we are going to have a closer look at where they are coming from, which is the book Accelerate. The book Accelerate, the Science of Lean Software and DevOps, Building and Scaling High-Performance Technology Organization, was published in 2018 and it has 288 pages. I highly recommend this book to everyone which is working on DevOps or on a DevOps transformation. It is absolutely the essential book to read. Therefore, let's have a look who has written that book. First of all, we have Dr. Nicole Forsgren. She has done the research behind that book. She has created the startup DevOps Research and Assessment, short DORA. Second, we have Jez Humble, which is very well known for his book Continuous Delivery and also for the DevOps Handbook. And last but not least, we have Gene Kim, which is very well known for his awesome book, The Phoenix Project, and the successor, The Unicorn Project, and he is also co-author of the DevOps Handbook. He is also very well known for the DevOps Enterprise Summit, which is one of the largest DevOps conferences out there. Three absolutely amazing authors, and what you can see here is also the three books which I highly recommend to you to read when you work in the DevOps space. It is the book, of course, Accelerate, it is the DevOps Handbook, and it is the Phoenix Project. When you look at the book, then this book has three parts. In the first part, there is described what they have found. So all of the findings, the 24 key capabilities that they have found out during the research. In part two, there is the whole research. So the science behind that research, all the statistical analysis techniques that they have used to figure out these 24 key capabilities, which we will have a look at later. And then there is part three, which is the transformation. It is a case study from ING, where they have transformed ING with a DevOps transformation. It is sort of a blueprint for a transformation. If you don't have much time, then I highly recommend at least to read part one, which is the most amazing part of that book. Of course, also part two is quite nice when you are interested in the science behind that and in the statistical elements, how they found out all of these capabilities. Please also note that the book only covers, of course, the research between 2014 and 2017. The research, or the State of DevOps research, has started in 2013 and is still continuing. Every year they are going to send out this survey, and roughly 2,000 unique organizations are responding to that survey, which is from startup to cutting-edge internet companies, from highly regulated companies to in the government field, to greenfield application, to legacy applications. So it's really quite a comprehensive picture on the globe on the state of DevOps. The latest report is the one from 2022. It looks like that the one for 2023 will soon be coming out. Please also note that the research has been taken over by Google in 2018 by the acquisition of the startup DORA. And also when you look at Dr. Nicole Forsgren, she of course worked first at that startup DORA, then she worked for Google, and nowadays she is working for Microsoft and is not anymore contributing to the State of DevOps reports. The most amazing thing about this book, Accelerate, is that they have scientifically analyzed these companies which are doing DevOps or not doing DevOps in their software delivery performance, and that they have found out 24 key capabilities which are driving improvements in software delivery performance. They have categorized these 24 key capabilities into 5 categories. First, there is this category about continuous delivery capability, where you have things in there that you should use version control, that you need to have a deployment automation, of course also continuous integration, where you're integrating your source code, doing unit tests and also static code analysis. And they also found out that it is best to do trunk-based development. Just to mention, science has found out that it's best to do trunk-based development. Also, they say you need to have a test automation, you should have test data management, and you should shift left the whole security. You should not do security at the end of a project or when you're going into production. You should shift that left, and that you need to have continuous delivery. The second category is the architecture capability, where they are saying you need to have loosely coupled architecture and you should enable your teams to make their own decisions. The third category is product and process capability, where you have the customer feedback. Perhaps you remember the 3 ways of DevOps: going fast into production and then getting the feedback, which is the second way. And you can see that science has also found out that this is very important. Also, that you organize yourself across the value stream, that you work in small batches, and that you allow the team to do experimentations. The fourth category is lean management and monitoring capabilities. Science has found out that change approval boards are for nothing. Also, you should have monitoring system. You should have a proactive notification so that you get notified when something happens, and that you should limit your work in process and also visualize your work across the value stream. And then we have the cultural capabilities, where we have the Westrum organizational culture. Westrum organizational culture divides organization into 3 types of organization: bureaucratic organization, pathological organization, and generative organizations. In the pathological organization, the messenger will get shot when something happens. In the bureaucratic organization, you will have a lot of bureaucracy when something happens. And in the generative organization, there you are going to celebrate when something happens because you have learned something. And of course, all of the companies want to be in this generative organization. They want to have a learning culture. And which brings us to the second capability, which is the supported learning, that you can always learn, that you have a collaboration among the teams across the value stream, and of course that you have a great job satisfaction, which brings us to the last point, which is transformational leadership. You need to have a good leadership when you are doing a DevOps transformation. So these are the 24 key capabilities that drive improvements in software delivery performance, and it is just amazing that they have found out these 24 key capabilities. But not only that, they also found out what the relationship between these 24 key capabilities are, which is really, really amazing about that book. And they put it into this picture, which is for me sort of the reference picture when you are doing a DevOps transformation. Because in fact, it shows you on the right side what you want to achieve, and on the left side what you need to do in order to achieve that. And you see also the relationship between that. I get always asked, how can we measure the software delivery performance? And of course, the book Accelerate has had a look at that, and they found out how you can measure software delivery performance. And I can already tell you, it is not your team velocity, it is not the number of lines of code, it is not the number of commits which you are doing or the test coverage. When you want to measure scientifically your software delivery performance, then you will use the DORA metrics. The DORA metrics are 4 metrics how you can measure the software delivery performance of your team or of your organization. The first metric which we have is the lead time for changes. This metric shows us how long it takes from code commit, when you commit code into your version control, until it is in production. This is the lead time for changes. Please note the time which is before the code commit until it is in production, like the ideation, requirements engineering, also the implementation, is not part of the lead time for changes. Why? Because they found out that this is statistically not really relevant. You cannot make sense out of these numbers because it varies too much. Now you can look at the numbers. They also categorized the whole thing. There you have the elite, which is able to go from code commit into production in less than an hour. And then it goes down to high, which is between 1 day and 1 week. Then medium, between 1 month and 6 months. And then low, which is more than 6 months. The second metric, which is closely related to the lead time for changes, obviously, is the deployment frequency. The deployment frequency shows you how often you as an organization are able to deploy into production. Please note here that when we are doing DevOps, we distinguish between deployment and release. A deployment is bringing the code into production, but with the feature toggle off, and releasing something is switching on the feature toggle. It is quite obvious that when you don't do the distinction between deployment and release, you will not have high numbers there. Also here you can see elite companies are able to do that on demand, so they can have multiple deployments per day into production, which is sort of the benchmark. Then you have the high ones, which are between one deployment per day and once a week, medium between once per month and once every 6 months, and then you have the low one, which fewer than once every 6 months. So the lead time for changes and the deployment frequency, as I said, they are closely coupled, and these two metrics are speed metrics, so how fast you can go. On the other side, we have 2 other metrics which are more for the stability. And here you can see they are sort of linked together. And I always say, please always take close attention to these metrics. Don't pick just one metric, like for example, we increase the deployment frequency for whatever reasons, and we don't have a look at the time to restore a service or a change failure rate. Because of course you can go very fast or very often into production and have a really bad change failure rate. So you should always pick all 4 metrics, or at least 2 metrics, one from each of these categories, to have good results. So the third metric is the time to restore a service. This metric shows you how long it takes for you as an organization to restore from an incident when something happens in production. When you look at the numbers, you can see a lead can restore a service within less than an hour. Then we have the high ones, which are between 1 day and 1 week, a medium between 1 month and 6 months, and then low, which is more than 6 months. And from that, you can already see that these things are closely related to lead time for change and of course deployment frequency, and they influence each other. And therefore, please don't optimize only for speed or only for stability. You should always take both into account. The fourth one is the change failure rate. This is the percentage of deployments that create a failure in production. And of course, again, it's closely related to the deployment frequency. In the elite case, we have a number between 0% and 15%, which is also sort of the benchmark. High and medium are the same, 16 to 30%, and low is between 31% and 45%. So, when you get asked how to measure the software delivery performance of a team or of an organization, then this is the answer. These are the scientifically proven metrics how you can measure your software delivery performance. So with these DORA metrics, with the State of DevOps reports, they are going to have a look at the elite and also at the low performance, and they are comparing the elite ones with the low performer. And of course, then you get these nice numbers. You see here the results from the State of DevOps report 2019. You can see that companies which are on an elite level are able to have a 208 times higher deployment frequency, a 106 times faster lead time, a 2604 times faster time to restore a service, and they have a 7 times lower change failure rate. In 2021, these numbers got even bigger, as you can see here. They are just huge and are still increasing. Now, when you take these numbers and think about these numbers, then you can clearly see that the benefit of these numbers, or the benefit of DevOps, is that you get a faster time to market, more value for money, a higher quality, a higher customer satisfaction, and top qualified employees. And this is also exactly what the CIOs of today's companies want to have. And this is why everybody should do DevOps. When you look at the State of DevOps report on a time perspective, then you have this picture here. In 2018, there were only a few companies which were on the elite level many on the high level, some on the medium level, and a large portion on the low level. And then things have shifted. As you can see, nowadays there are many on the elite level, some on the high level, medium level, and the lower level that has either these companies have improved or they were dying out. Here you have all of the links to the State of DevOps reports. There is also a self-assessment which you can do when in regards to the software delivery performance of your company. And with that, we are at the end of this video. Please leave me a thumbs up when you liked this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to this channel when you want to learn more about DevOps.